Child-parent relationships built on confidence and trust are crucial to children's well-being and development. When a parent's in prison, stress is placed on the child-parent relationship. This stress comes from the impact prison tends to have on a person's sense of self and feelings of responsibility. Alain Bouregbert describes 3 defining characteristics of prison that can affect one's ability to build relationships with others. The first characteristic is that prison destroys any feelings of responsibility because it takes all control away from the prisoner. They have no say in what time they go to bed or what time they wake up. They have no control over where they go. They lose their ability to make decisions. The second characteristic of incarceration is that it's typically defined by a closed gate, being locked in and crowded together, a loss of privacy. People can be much more sensitive to the needs of others if they have their own space. Crowding people in together can inspire feelings of aggression that tend to stay bottled up inside. Any form of imprisonment produces hostility towards others and fundamentally damages one's ability to communicate. The ability to communicate with others is further damaged by the ritualization of contact that takes place in prison. People say hello and goodbye to each other in the same way for years without changing their ritual. In prison, everything must be codified. No spontaneity is allowed. The third condition that makes incarceration difficult is the humiliation and indignity of the situation. Being incarcerated creates feelings of being devalued and discredited in the eyes of others, in the eyes of one's family and friends, and even in the eyes of one's fellow inmates because everyone believes their neighbour is a worse criminal than they are. Humiliation and indignity are commonplace in the prison world, which inevitably exacerbates feelings of shame, resulting in withdrawal. Because of these 3 factors, incarceration is a situation where relationships with others and the ability to communicate with them are destroyed. Prison has an impact on a person's personality and on their ability to tolerate others and open up to them.
There's a psychological price that's paid in custody. This is most visible in the difficulties prisoners experience when trying to relate to others, including their children.
Incarceration can damage the child-parent relationship as a result of restrictions to the quantity and quality of time they're able to spend together, as well as the physical constraints of the prison environment.
To be a parent is to feel responsible and to believe that you alone can be responsible for your child. In prison, the parent lacks the power to act for themselves. Their own sense of responsibility for themselves has been taken away. How then can the parent feel responsible for their child?
When the child comes to the prison, their parent reaches out to them for emotional contact. The child can become a source of emotional comfort for the parent, instead of the parent providing emotional comfort for the child. There's a kind of inversion. The prisoner feels the need to cling to their child, and the child feels obliged to give more attention, affection, and emotion to their parent than the child can hope to receive in return. Child-parent relationships are based on feelings of responsibility and attachment, and on the asymmetry between parents and children. When the system is thrown into disorder, the child feels more responsible for the parent. He or she feels more obliged to give, and the parent expects to receive. Having a parent in prison can be very difficult for a child. Working to maintain a healthy child-parent bond free of distortion helps ease the pressure on the child to be a key source of emotional comfort for their parent. When parents are supported in their role as parents, they're more confident and responsible in that role and can in turn support and help their child. When free of any obligation or responsibility to comfort their parent emotionally, children feel less stress. Maintaining a healthy child-parent relationship throughout a prison sentence helps ease a parent's transition back into the family. After release from prison, a smooth return to family life is crucial. Without their role in the family, parents can feel lost and unsure of themselves. This uncertainty as to where they belong can create tensions and stress in the family for both children and parents.
In many cases, in spite of everything and after some time, the prisoner is capable of becoming the parent they had been prior to imprisonment, and the child is also able to regain their previous role in their relationship with their parent. In some cases, however, real problems arise when the parent cannot resume their role. The child no longer sees their parent in the same role as before. Feeling uncomfortable, the parent distances themselves once more.
If the child distances themselves from their parent rather than responding as a source of emotional comfort, this can be frustrating for the parent and can cause conflict, even violence, in the relationship. This may then lead to the parent looking elsewhere to find a sense of belonging. And it is in this type of situation there's a higher risk of recidivism. Now, as a group, take 10 to 15 minutes to brainstorm what changes you as prison staff and/or professionals can make to support and strengthen the child-parent bond, to foster decision-making and a sense of responsibility in imprisoned parents, and to reduce alienation and humiliation. Please feel free to use the accompanying discussion guide. Prison staff and professionals can play an important role in supporting the imprisoned parent and in working to ensure that child-parent visits strengthen and support both parties. When a parent continues to feel involved and important in their child's life, this facilitates the transition back into the family once the parent is released from prison. There are several ways that prison staff and professionals can support a positive child-parent relationship, as outlined by Alain Boregba. The first way is allowing parents in prison the opportunity to create something for their child that they make themselves. Examples include a toy made by the parent, a piece of art, a book written and illustrated, or something they've sewn or baked. If a parent in prison is able to create something that they're proud of for their child, they can feel more confident in their competency as an individual and as a parent. Ideally, the child is present during the parent's creative process, so the parent feels a sense of handing down a certain skill, talent, or expertise. The second way is to accompany child-parent visits. Having the presence of someone else during a visit allows a parent to be more conscious of how they are with their child and adjust their behavior accordingly.
C'est finalement cela la présence.
Being present as a third party during prison visits not only provides support for the child in a physical sense, but also provides opportunities for the parent to reflect on their actions, in the most literal sense of the word reflect. Having a third party present is like holding up a mirror to the parent, allowing them to adjust their behavior.
This presence can also be reassuring for the parent and can strengthen the parent in their role, allowing them to interact in positive ways with their child. The accompanying adult should be there in the background, available as needed, but should allow the child and parent to focus on their time together. Thirdly, prison professionals should also be present and supportive of the parent in prison to accompany them in their relationship with their child. Parents need help to become aware of how they can avoid placing unwanted pressure on their child. Explaining to the parent that the child-parent relationship may become distorted as a result of the parent's imprisonment can actually lower the chance of this happening. When parents tell their children that they are the centre of their world, they need to know that they're placing too much pressure on their children. Sometimes prisoners must be told that being released will not be easy, that becoming a parent again when their child has spent years managing without them is difficult. If prisoners are told that there's a risk that they'll become depressed or violent, they'll be aware of problems and risks that they may face, and will be better positioned to avoid them. This is an essential preventative measure. If parents are helped to understand the impact that imprisonment can have on their child as well as their own identity, and receive guidance on how to interact with their child in a supportive, positive manner, they'll be better able to adjust and alter their behaviour to the demands of the parental role. This helps alleviate some of the pressure on the child.
Il faut beaucoup créer de liens et d'alliances.
Prisoners must be used to discussing such issues with a person they trust. Someone who regularly takes the time to speak with a prisoner with empathy and compassion, and who's built a positive relationship with them, will be able to convincingly talk about the risks they face.
On malmène très fortement.
That person, be it a prison staff member or professional, can contribute to positive child-parent interactions by supporting the parent immediately prior to a visit. If a parent is upset or is humiliated just before meeting with their child, they may become completely inattentive to their child.
These three measures, allowing parents the opportunity to create something for their child, accompanying child-parent visits, and being present and supportive of the parent in prison, demand the collaboration and dedication of prison staff and other professionals who work with families of prisoners. Incarceration is a difficult, dehumanizing experience. It takes away one's sense of responsibility and sense of self, makes it hard to communicate, and creates feelings of humiliation and shame. These three defining characteristics of prison, as outlined by Alain Boregba, make it a challenge to enter into and maintain meaningful relationships with others while imprisoned. For parents in particular who've had their responsibility for themselves taken away, it's very challenging to continue in their role as a parent and to be responsible for their child. If prison staff and professionals work to connect with imprisoned parents through fostering genuine connections with them, acting with sensitivity and compassion, and making an effort to ensure that child-parent interactions are positive, imprisoned parents will be more capable of reflecting on their role and their interactions with others, particularly with their children.
In order for a person to be less likely to commit an offence, they must have the ability to feel responsible. And yet we do not feel responsible for the whole world. We start by feeling responsible for those close to us, our loved ones and our children.